Thank you for being here live with us. Everybody who's on this live call, I'll take your questions at the end. And for those of us who are joining live on Facebook, thank you for being here. These last few weeks, we've been dealing with miracle. Wow. I have sometimes felt like I was divinely ordained specifically to speak on miracle because I've received so many opportunities to beg for one. I imagine that's the case for many of us. We've been dealing with miracle, right? The art and craft of receiving the miracle, the art and craft of allowing miracle to, as a substantive realized experience to take form in our life, regardless of the circumstances that we find ourselves in, and regardless of where our mindset is. Specifically in the last few weeks, we've talked about, first of all, we've talked about how there's two planes of miracle work. The first is horizontal, the horizontal plane of miracle work, which is where your mindset is at any given time, whether you are prehending the possibility for miracle or whether you are prehending the not possibility for miracle. That matters. And we've used the Dr. David Hawkins scale of consciousness as a guide to ascertain what log of consciousness we're operating inside. In other words, where is this landscape? What is this game board? And how are we currently relating to life? We've also talked about the vertical plane of miracle work. Now, the vertical plane of miracle work has nothing to do with your landscape, where your mindset is. It's got everything to do with quantum possibility. This is the God drop. This is that mind-blowing, unexpected occurrence that just sort of restores everything to perfect order. It forgives the unforgivable. It heals what's broken. It restores what was forever taken. So over the last 2 weeks that we've been doing this series, we've talked about what are the mechanics of consciousness, what are the mechanics of ascending consciousness, forming and upholding a particular set of coordinates of consciousness that allows you to be open for and available for miracle mindedness. And we've talked about the mechanics of surrender, the mechanics of allowing that God drop to form in your life, which is something altogether different from creating a vision board of what you would like to see occur. Because of course, anything that you try and create with your own mind and energy field, you must be in vibrational accord with. And that's not what miracles are about. Miracles aren't about manifesting what you're in vibrational accord with. Miracles are miracles. They are utterly, utterly mysterious, and they are a complete gift from God. And your mastery in relation to miracles, therefore, is only as far as upholding your availability for them. So that brings us to our final chapter in the series, which is a wonderful, wonderful gift from me to you. And I am calling it Commanding the Greatest Gift. Wow, that power word, commanding that greatest gift. I'm going to upgrade your manifesting power today. So I want you to really, really be present for this, whether you're in the room or whether you're watching on the live. Be utterly present for the possibility of harvesting from my words and energy a transmission that will forever change the way you engage with and relate to the substance of your life. Yes? Yes, wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right, pens at the ready. Have you poised your pen? Good, good. Paper, good, wonderful. Yes, 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 yes. Everyone's got their pens and paper, good. All right, listen. The components of the universe are basically three components of the universe. The first is love. Make a little point at the top of your paper. The first is love. The second is spirit. And the third is a substance that is finer than anything, yet identified by science. So follow along to this teaching, because this is going to arrange some of your understanding about the interrelationality and union of these three basic elements of the universe. First, let me just say that oh, hang on, I'm going to write down at the top. The first is love. That's the primordial element of the universe. The second is spirit. This is the unifying element of the universe. And the third is particle. That is the formed element of the universe. This is what makes all things manifest. All things that are manifest are made manifest through this aspect. Now, this particle is finer than any atom of or any of its component parts. This is the ultimate simple particle, the irreducible building block of the universe. And comprehending this particle is currently a major focus in physics research. It's variously referred to by different names, including Higgs boson or the God particle, right? We're searching for that primordial substance. But this particle is prior to the existing family tree of particles, which is why it's so hard to study it. Listen, it creates mass, whereas all other particles are a result of mass. So remember this, when we're thinking about the elemental aspect of this universal trinity that is what is formed, it is actually, it is prior to mass. So it's not actually mass yet. All other particles in physics, in actualized physics, are results of mass. This is important, and I'll get to why that is. Now, in this corner of particle, of form, which is where all of your prehended existence lives in form, your life is manifest, your life is material, your life is what has been actualized in the quantum fabric. And in that corner, there is a matrix of potential that precedes all energy mass. So in other words, all of your potentiality, everything that has not yet come to form, also belongs in this corner. Yes? Got it? So your dreams and your visions, your hopes and your desires, everything you've put on your vision board, they're also in this matrix of potential that precedes all energy mass. And when I say energy mass, of course, I mean everything that is actualized, everything from vibration to form. So it's particle units, right? We're talking about these particles. These particle units are utterly generic in nature and are the basic irreducible components of physical existence. And this is the word to remember and write it down. These are adamantine particles. Adamantine particles, from the root adamant. Write that down, I'll get back to that. Let's glide our attention to the top of this matrix here, to the top of this triangle. The source of love, the Father, is the almighty creator, who is to all existence as the sun is to life on earth. And yet the light of this love is so brilliant that only its halo can be perceived. The source of pure love is the ultimate source of all love, and it's from this love that you are emanated or created. Let me have a quick look and see if I can find the sovereign model of human consciousness. Here we go. So we say that the Father, the source of all things, is that primordial essence of love. And like a ray of light, you are an entity of that light, created in its full likeness. So here, for everything from this point and onwards is all in this corner of the Trinity. Because here we have you, the created one, the Son, the Father and the Son. And from here, your experience is prehended and actualized. Yes? Good. Okay, back to my Trinity here. All right. So beyond the recognition of love, beyond saying, okay, we recognize that love is what is, the presence and nature of God beyond that cannot be described, because the Holy Presence is the define and not the defined. Now, the Holy Trinity, this Holy Trinity, is also a sacred mystery that precedes and determines that tripart universe of Father, Son, and Spirit. It can't be defined per se, but it is manifest everywhere in the very presence of all that exists. We would say that we are all of the same source and of the same substance and in the flow of the same supply. So we would say then that in the dimension of knowable reality, there is one Holy Spirit, and whenever it embraces creation with the love of God and the all-knowing presence, you are in it. So if you are in the presence of love, and you are emanating and experiencing love, whatever form that is taking for you in the moment, then you are in the Holy Spirit as far as your prehension goes. But even without your prehension, Spirit is indivisible from the rest. So back to love. Love isn't something you do or don't do. It isn't something you give or don't give, receive or don't receive. It's not a commodity or a derivative substance that you can seek and find and buy and purchase and have and store for later. Because love isn't a subject to the laws of scarcity and abundance that you engage with out here in the manifest universe. Love is the source of all of it. For that reason, love is who you are. And it is entirely unconditional because it's your origin. Now, your actions and your experience is always conditional to some degree because your existence is conditional. Because look, your existence is conditional to so many of the conditions that you have made accord with, the creative declarations that you have said, I am in agreement with these things. That's where your conditions come from. So the extent to which you can choose to participate with love, that's conditional, and you are those conditions. But love itself is unconditional because it's your source, because it's what you are of. It's a sacred aspect of your beingness. Be this first, and the rest of your life will fall into place. Look at Matthew 6:3 in the Bible. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and then all these things will be added to you. We can see why that's the case. We can see why that's the case. Because all these things that we're seeking, that we're worrying about, that we're concerned about and trying to plan, these things are out here in a prehended universe of creation. All these things are out here on the stage of life, the stage which is subject to the conditions that you've decreed are in place. But if you can be this first, then, well, I'll get into that. Okay, the second, so that's the first element, is love. The source of all things is love. The second element of this gorgeous Trinity here is spirit. Genesis 1:2, the Spirit moved upon the waters. All things are of spirit. There is only one Spirit. We don't have, this is your spirit and this is my spirit. There is one Spirit. And Spirit is in all things, around all things, with all things, and of all things. There is no such thing as Spirit being isolated to a pure zone that's sort of separate from manifest creation. It's not that you'll know Spirit in the afterlife. It's not that you need to tap into Spirit, which is some other place. It's some other place in heaven. And any theory that separates spirit from substance does not fully understand the non-duality of truth. If anyone is trying to convince you that spirit belongs to heaven and substance belongs to earth, these people are belonging to structured thinking. These theories belong to structured dualistic thinking. Because actually, inseparable and indivisible, spirit is in all things. And it must be understood as whole, as continuous, and as unbroken. Because whenever you view spirit as opposite of matter, you've entered into a world of misconception and duality. And that's what has us declaring and judging on what should be out there, either out there in their life or here in my life, We try to restructure actualized occurrences and things so we can make space for more spirit. But spirit is the unity of us all. It is the unity of heaven and earth. It's through the oneness of spirit that the miracle of prayer can work. It's through the oneness of spirit that the power of dreams and visions and prophecies can work. In spirit, we are one. We are one fabric and substance. And therefore, in spirit, we live one life. And we are unified in a state of brotherhood and a state of common awareness, either seeking enlightenment and uplift, or seeking darkness and downpulling, whichever way it chooses to be. But it's all spirit, you see. It's all a unified spirit. So if we have you over here seeking enlightenment and uplift, and we have someone over there seeking darkness and downpouring, it doesn't shift the fact that this one spirit is unifying and uniting us all. So regardless of how your experience unfolds, regardless of what agony you're in right now, we are in one spirit, of one spirit, and your existence is shared by all. In other words, we are all holding each other's burdens and uplift in our hearts. As a matter of fact, the greatest breakthrough in physics, the one that every other discovery hinges on, was the discovery in the early 1900s, around 1920-ish. It was the discovery of the unified field. Thank you, Einstein. And every development in modern physics would have been impossible if that breakthrough in consciousness had not occurred. Scientists just haven't yet put words to the fact that what that discovery was the physical presence of spirit. And get this, we are on the breakthrough of another leap in science. We are at the breakthrough of the discovery of the adamantine particles. The third corner of our triangle, love, is the primordial source of it all. It is God, it's the great Father. Spirit is the unifying fabric. It is the aspect of the Father that moves. It's the aspect of the infinite creator that has desire, that has movement and purpose, that is becoming, its process. Spirit moves. The third corner of this triangle represents the element of particularized reality. Reality is what has been made real. It's what has been realized. So here we're talking about the elements of particularized reality, through which differences of potential and separate configurations are made possible. Yes? So that's why Karen looks so different from Matthew. That's why cheese has a different flavor than cucumber, because here potential and separate configurations are made possible. So remember I said here there's a matrix of potentiality that exists before energetic particle, before energetic substance. Well, in that matrix of potentiality, that is where differentiation occurs. That's when we go and we begin to experience the rich and varied diversity of an opulently lived life, of possibility coming to form, of navigating sensually and magically what it is to be alive as a human being. So that means that this element here are particles of infinity. The adamantine particles are literally the body of God, literally the body of God, for they bring divine will into manifestation. Everything else is potentiality, everything else is dream state. But because of this aspect of the universe, we bring divine will into manifestation. So let's look at the word adamantine quickly. Adamantine comes from the root adamant, which means unsubmitting, impenetrable, unyielding. This particle is so small, so irreducible and non-negotiable, so fundamental and utterly elemental, that there is nothing that can be done or manipulated with it. It's pre-mass. It's the particle that creates mass by its existence. And therefore, this is the particle that commands and supplies all derivative combinations of it. You understand that? It's a little bit complex. I'm going to say it again, that the adamantine particle creates mass, which means it also commands and supplies all derivative combinations of it. So in other words, if the adamantine particle is what all other particles are made of, then it is the sovereign particle. So there is no point trying for you, there's no point for you trying to command all these other particles out there in life, unless you are going directly to the source of those particles, which is the adamantine. That's pre-mass, right? Go pre-mass. So adamantine, right? Thinking of that word, adamant, that's the character of this particle. That's how this particle behaves. And infinity, that's its function. That's where it goes and what it does and what it makes. It creates and 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 it creates. And the universe, this glorious, glorious, blossoming universe, is forever unfolding in reality because of the way the adamantine particle commands and supplies all derivative combinations of itself. Good. If we think about the ancient Greek philosophers postulating the tiniest thing in the world, and we think about some of Epictetus was one of the first ontologists, if not the first ontologist in the world. Ontology is the branch of philosophy that deals with life, deals with the becoming of life. And in those early days, they were thinking, what is the eternal becoming made of? And they postulated a fundamental particle, and they called it the atom. Now, of course, what we know of as the atom is not an adamantine particle, because we know you can take an atom and you can make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller still. Well, you could carry on with that process very, very far until you got to the adamantine particle. And when you get to the adamantine particle, you cannot reduce it any further. That is the primordial substance of all manifest universe. So, in other words, whoever and whatever and wherever and whenever you are always these three elements, a totality of three recapitulated as one. And the extent to which you embody this knowing is your log of consciousness. Look at this. So if we say we're going to form a trinity out of these three elements, then the extent to which you understand and integrate yourself, both as source, as spirit, and as substance, the extent to which you understand yourself as the Father and the Spirit and the Son, that is your log of consciousness. So let's say you fill up this much of this triangle. We can show this another way by saying the extent to which you understand this is where you log on the scale of where between zero, where zero is I'm a complete accident, utter nihilism, there's no point to anything, it was all just an accident, or 1,000 at the very top, where you, like Jesus Christ, have a total embodied and integrated knowing of yourself as divine. And your proximity to truth, the extent to which you embody your knowing of yourself as this Trinity, that is what commands where you log on this scale of ascension. And your ascension is your journey into perfect truth, perfect remembering. Yes? So the extent to which you understand that you are equally source, equally spirit, and equally substance, that is the extent of your power. That is the extent of your power. So this is where I'm going to transition into manifesting. Good. Look at the diagram one more time. Right, look on your own sheet if you like, or look here. Take a note of its arrangement. Love is at the top. spirit resonates to love, and love commands the adamantine particles. From this, all of creation has occurred. All of creation has occurred from this configuration. Love commands the adamantine particles. Now, between you and anyone else, or anything like your vision, like your dream, between you and that are many, many, many particles. Who commands the particles? The one with the strongest presence, the one with the most cohesive, integrated energy field of magnetism. Now, the world would have you believe that love is a consummating emotion of desired and pleasurable effects. In other words, that love is created, that love is something created out here in biology. But nothing could be further from the truth, because love is the universal instrument of initiating creation and then commanding your creation. Yes? So your embodiment, so your ascension, your journey in life, your ascension up this imaginary scale of consciousness is about the embodiment and integration of this knowing. So the deeper you go, the truer you become to this configuration, the more power you hold in your container of consciousness. And miraculous economies of scale occur in time and energy, and your manifestations become purer, and your love goes further, and its impact lasts longer in the lives of those you touch. So the big upgrade in your experience of manifesting comes when you realize you're not creating with your thoughts. That's a fallacy of modern spiritual thought. You are not creating with your thoughts. You are not creating with your visualizations. You are creating with your love. You are creating with your loving desire. And you are creating with your loving command. So from now on, instead of declaring your ideals and then crafting cognitive interpretations of what you'd like to see and how to become in vibrational accord with these ideals, right? Because I know we're doing that a lot of the time as well. We're saying, well, I need to be in vibrational accord with this thing that I'm trying to manifest. And so cerebrally, then we try to imagine what vibrational accord means. And then we try to fake it till we make it to become a vibrational match for the thing that we're trying to bring into being. But it is love that commands the adamantine particles. Look around you right now. Look around you. Look at yourself. It is all made of adamantine particles, and they respond to love. So from now on, you're going to lovingly command the reality of your life, lovingly command the fabric of the reality of your life to sculpt itself into your divine vision. And you're going to release all your grip on the structure that's already come to form. You're going to release all agreement with the structure that has already come into form. And you're going to blow your consciousness wide open for possibility, knowing that you are equal parts, source, spirit, and substance. And if you are the Trinity of these things, then so is everything in your life also the Trinity of these things. So you are going to lovingly command your manifestation to come into form, releasing the structure of what already is and remaining open to the possibility of what has not yet come. But there's a downside to this. Dum, dum, dum. Your love, although it is perfect in its essence, although it is unconditional in its supply to you, it is not perfect in your transmission into the world. And that's because of these creative declarations that you have become so accustomed to living by. All of the creative declarations that are logged in your cellular consciousness, in your cellular memory, in the very body of what you've become. Creative declarations that imprint into your energy field and thus warp the quality of your manifestation. You're influenced by all sorts of creative laws that you've made accord with. And the process of cleaning all that up really gets in the way of really engaging with the true Trinity of creation. So I'm once again giving you the gift of Jesus Christ, who was born into the human field with a perfect alignment to this configuration, not that one, to this one. Jesus Christ was born incarnate into time and space, into the human collective mind with the perfect configuration, the perfect knowing of this Trinity of being. So that means that there exists already a blueprint in the potential of human consciousness. There exists already a perfect knowing of yourself as love, the perfect knowing of yourself as spirit, and the perfect knowing of yourself as particle, as substance. This perfect configuration already exists, even if yours isn't quite that developed, right? Now you are coming into knowing of yourself as perfectly divine. You are coming into that knowing. That's your destiny. That's your path in life. You're doing it. You're doing it really, really well. But I want to save you time and I want to save you suffering by saying that you can align to this field of energy, and you will find that it adjusts and calibrates your settings for you, course correcting you while you journey in life. Here's where I need to chime in with an unpopular opinion. One of the greatest fallacies in traditional Christian thought is the definition of a believer. If you're listening and you're a Christian, I want you to hear this. The definition of believer, that needs some work. Listen to me. I have met as many true believers in non-Christian columns of spiritual thought as I have in any church. I'm personally trained in Christian and alternative ministries, including pagan, and I've developed a phenomenal spiritual mastery as a result of merging these belief systems. Pagan spirituality is not about worshipping false gods, by the way. It's about worshipping the only one God through the elements of creation, through the adamantine particles. It's not blasphemy, it's brilliant and it's blessed. Now, if you still think that pagan spirituality is evil, like they did in the Dark Ages, then why are you sharing inspirational memes of Native American proverbs? This is a lovely one from Black Elk. He was a holy man of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Peace comes in the souls of men when they realize their oneness with the universe, when they realize it really is everywhere. It is within each of us. It sounds a little bit like what Jesus Christ said, John 14:20. And on that day of your baptism into universal Christ consciousness, on that day, you will see that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. Oh, it looks like the pagan and the Christ agree that we are in fact the perfect coordination of source, of spirit, and of substance, of love, of spirit, and of particle matter. But let me give you another little bit of goodness. Jesus, who is my beloved Savior, is also not an individual false God. It is the universal anointing of human consciousness. I am that I am. That's why you can't get to the Father except through Christ, because you'll never be unity until you've integrated the knowing that you are. The more distance there is between this line and this line, the further into the illusion of structure you live. But Jesus already did this integration. He already did that. So you aligning with him is a lot more graceful way of experiencing your ascension than insisting on forging your own path up the mountain. It's very steep and pretty treacherous. I've already tried. I fell down a lot. So the greatest fallacy in non-Christian thought is this adamance that you don't need saving. Jesus is the messianic field of consciousness. He's the intercessory energy field that makes up your deficit in mastery while you're in the process of healing your ancestral and cultural trauma. Again, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. That means that you're not a slave to karma or any other systemic laws that would have you locked in suboptimal manifesting patterns. And that's what we're talking about today, isn't it? It's about the miracle of commanding the greatest gift. You can be saved nanosecond by nanosecond, not just when you've hit the knees on the concrete. That's what we talked about last week, was that utter rock bottom surrender. You don't need to wait for that before you can give the sovereignty of your life to the one that has already installed a perfect configuration of knowing. Since God completed the human life in Jesus, the frame of consciousness is established in the collective potential for you, and all you have to do is choose it. And then you find yourself in the presence of instant mercy, immediate grace, life-changing power to lovingly command the substance of life to form itself according to your highest ideal. I know this because I discovered it. P.S., by the way, another unpopular opinion, I'm not waiting for Jesus to return. He's already here. So to summarize my gift to you today, number one, you are made of the same substance as all of the abundance in the kingdom, and it's called an adamantine particle. And it's yours by birthright. The extent to which you realize this is directly related to the quality of your life's experience, because adamantine particles respond to love. So you manifest magic by lovingly commanding, not by thought. Okay, so that's a little attunement there. Secondly, you can align with a set of consciousness coordinates that are predefined as the perfect configuration of knowing. I am that I am. Unconditional love, unconditional spirit, and utterly made real inside, viscerally inside the sensual body of Christ. That's an upgrade. So tomorrow in the Oasis, we are going to go deeper with these universal truths, and we're going to train in the practical methods involved in those two aspects that I've told you today. So you're going to walk out of the Oasis tomorrow with practical tools and protocols that's going to help you arrange your knowing so that you can command with greater sovereign authority the substance of life that realizes all of your most luscious, opulent dreams. That's miracle mastery. And for those of you who've been following on the free series on Facebook, thank you for following along. It's been wonderful showing up here every Monday, and goodness knows we may do it again in the new year. But thank you so much for following. We're going to say goodbye to our live streamers, and then we're going to open for questions. Goodbye. Love you all.